the long-awaited podcast. We're going to learn how to fly today, folks. Please welcome my guest, Daniel F. Thompson. Trained by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya.
The League of Ordinary Gentlemen.
What's going on, man?
Dr. Thompson, how are you?
Long time no see. How you been?
Yeah, doing great. I too am sipping my coffee. Are you in a hotel somewhere?
I am. I'm in Atlanta this morning.
Oh, not too far away, actually.
No, not too early. We got in late last night, and then we leave here in a couple hours and go to New Orleans, and then back to Chicago, and then hopefully I'll catch my flight home.
Whew. You know, they say exhausted flying can be as dangerous as drunk flying.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can go to prison for drunk flying. I don't think I can for exhausted
Or fall asleep
flying.
at the wheel.
Yeah, autopilot's got it.
Fall asleep at the autopilot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or the co-pilot sitting right next to me. So.
Nice, perfect. Cool. I think out of everybody in the league, you have the coolest jobs of anybody.
Thank you. It has lended me to, unfortunately, I feel like this is going to be a really short interview about football. I have been flying, and I got a duplex not too long ago, and I started renovating that. And I had a couple tenants move out of houses this year, and so my me being up on football is maybe one game this year.
Yeah.
It's been rough. So
Yeah.
I half the time I even forget. I'm like, oh crap, fantasy, and I don't want to not. I'm afraid if I would take a break from the league, I'm afraid I'll never get back into it. And so I knew this season was just going to be
Tough.
not good for me.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was really excited about getting everybody more involved this year, but this year has been like the busiest for me too. So there's been a couple weeks, or like 2 weeks. So about 3 weeks ago, I forgot to fill out my lineup completely because I got mixed up, and then this week.
Did I win that? I might have actually won that.
I think
I might be
you
one
did.
of the few that I've won. Thank you for that.
Hey, no problem, man. two mediocre forces combined.
Exactly.
Collided. And then this week, I was watching Thursday Night Football, and I was playing Garoppolo and Kittle, and I was texting. I was playing Timothy Price, and he texted me. He goes, "Man, you're being really generous." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You didn't even fill out your roster this week." And I was like, "Oh crap!" So, fortunately, it was Thursday night and not Sunday afternoon. So,
I've had a couple of those recently too.
yeah. So everything I've been like giving people crap about, like I've been guilty of this year. So, for those of you that don't know, Dan Thompson is a commercial airline pilot and also real estate investor, right?
Yeah. And real estate agent. Actually, a couple of the league members I've sold houses to at one point or another.
Oh, nice. Oh. So this is a commercial for you.
Yeah, basically, there you go. Call me. I'm just kidding.
Call Dan Thompson, realtor. He'll fly to your house.
Exactly.
Other than Elliot Humphrey being a international spy, like this is the next best job. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, thanks. It's like I said, it's fun. Been definitely gone a lot, and it's been a rough year for me in football. But I don't know. Hopefully next season.
Yeah,
I'm just planning for that because it's not good for the rest of this one.
yeah. We call that the Bengals approach. Hopefully next season.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I like that Halloween costume that had Dalton with the bench strapped to his butt, just walking around. That was awesome.
Yeah, just sent that a few minutes ago. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
So who's your team? I don't think I know who your team is in the NFL. Do you have a team?
Okay, so I do.
All right.
And I always feel like this requires a story because from where I'm from.
Oh, that's what we're here for. We're here for the stories.
No, good. My team always has been actually the Dallas Cowboys. And
Okay.
The reason why it was the Cowboys, when I was little, Thanksgiving, I never watched football when I was a little kid, but the only football game I would watch every year over Thanksgiving was always Cowboys-Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of family that's from Dallas. Got some aunts, uncles, cousins, a bunch of people that live down there. My grandma, Geist, even though she was from Dayton here, she always rooted for Dallas because her favorite son, Uncle David, lived down there. So ever since I was little, the only team I remember anybody in my family ever rooting for on a consistent basis was the Dallas Cowboys. So since I was 4 or 5 years old, that's just who I always rooted for.
Yeah.
And them and the Bengals.
Yeah.
But
I think that's how they became America's team. Everybody calls the Cowboys America's team. I mean, I didn't vote for them, but I think it was because they always played on Thanksgiving nationwide, and it was back when started back when people only had 3 television channels, and that's what you watched. And
yeah, exactly. We were getting the bunny ears and the tinfoil between the 2 little antennas to try to get a better signal up at our farm in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, and so they're just all over the place. So that's cool. How do you feel about the Cowboys this year? Have you gotten to watch any games with as much traveling as you're doing?
I've gotten to watch about 2, and I don't think that they're doing that well this year either, are they?
Yeah. Well, they have promise. Like, they started off hot, and then they got cold, and I think they have all the components. It just doesn't seem to be.
They started off 3-0.
Yeah, I think so.
3-2, and then it just kept going downhill from there, and they're 4-5 or something like that. Now I'm not.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what their record is. So what is your schedule like with the flying? Are you gone 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
Actually, okay. So far this year, and this October and November would be a little bit different because I actually packed my schedule a lot, so I'd have the whole last week or so of November off. But so far this year, I've averaged about 18 to 19 days off a month. But those days off have been, I've had 2 tenants that moved out and kind of left the house in a disaster. So I had to go, and I've redone 2 houses so far this summer.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, I just got this duplex, and so I started getting that here recently. So all my days off have basically been spent doing that.
Yeah.
So it's been about 6 days a week. I get Sunday off typically, and then that's, church. And by the time I'm done with family lunch and all that, it's gone. But normally my flight schedule is I go out and I'll fly for about 4 days at a time. Then I'll have 4 to 7 days off somewhere in there typically.
Okay. And are you still with Spirit Airlines?
Still with Spirit, yep.
Okay. And how far do you fly? What's your route or distance?
We all over. This last trip we did, actually the trip I'm on right now, I've gone coast to coast a couple times. A lot of times, not so much out of Chicago, but out of Fort Lauderdale, some of our other big bases. We do a lot of South America flights.
Oh, wow.
Every now and then I'll get those, but as of right now, we go as far south as Lima, Peru.
Okay.
And then we're getting some longer range aircrafts coming here in the next couple of years, and they want to keep going further and further south in South America. Spirit likes South America a lot as opposed to Europe.
Huh.
A lot of it has to do with the flight rules and what happens if you cancel a flight and all that. I don't know. Did you ever hear of WOW Airlines?
Yes, I remember WOW. Yeah.
They went out of business, and part of the reason why was if you fly in and out of Europe at all, they basically say if you cancel a flight for any reason at all, you have to pay for people's hotels, their food, vouchers, all that. It doesn't matter if it was like weather here in the United States and in South America. If a flight cancels because of weather, the airline, no matter what airline it is, isn't going to reimburse you.
Oh, wow.
If you cancel for a mechanical issue or your own issue, then you have to pay for it. Well, WOW Airlines had aircraft that could hold up to like 250 people. So anytime they canceled or delayed, they had to start paying hotels, and anything like that would cost, every canceled flight would cost $100,000 and some euros.
Yeah.
And just, you get a couple months of real bad weather and storms. puts a big damper on an airline, and they didn't make it. So
Wow. And those are the South American rules or the European?
those are the European rules.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So a lot of U.S. carriers like to focus a lot more on Central and South America because they don't have those rules in place.
Wow. Yeah.
Neither does the United States. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
airlines
You
take
can
a
put
tier would go.
and you can put a little bit of that cocaina on the plane on the flight back too. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
A
about.
little bit of that Colombian coffee, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that might have been when I flew cargo years ago. No,
You know, that's funny. You think about that stuff is so pervasive. I mean, you never know what you could have.
yeah, that's true.
In fact, I'm drinking Honduran coffee this morning. So
Nice.
again, back to Timmy Price. He was traveling from Kentucky to Florida this weekend, and they stopped by late last night to stay at our house overnight to cut the trip in half. And he dropped off some coffee before he left out this morning. So
Cool.
getting a little of that Central American feel
Yeah.
at least. Well, great, man. So, your Cowboys, by the way, I looked it up. They're 4-3.
Yeah,
And
we're back to positive.
they're actually number one in the NFC East. So,
Very good.
just in front of the Eagles, who are 4-4. So, it looks like the moral of
And then there's the Bengals, or what? Are they 0-7?
yeah, the Bengals are. Let's get a roundup here. So, NFC. If you're an NFC fan, you got Cowboys leading the East, Niners obviously 8-0, leading the West. Woo woo. Let's see who I got. The Packers leading the NFC North. They're at 7-1. They're probably the scariest other team in the NFC. Vikings are right behind them at number 2 in the North. NFC South, you have the Saints, Panthers, Buccaneers, and Falcons. Heading over to the American Football Conference, we have Patriots number 1 at 8-0. Eric Edom's Bills at 5-2. We have we have the Chiefs leading the AFC West at 5-3, followed by the Raiders at 3-4. Then we have Ravens. So AFC North, where it's kind of the heart of our group here. You have Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and Bengals. Bengals are at the bottom of the barrel at 0-8. So one of those years.
No, that's basically one of those decades for the Bengals.
Oh, that's true.
For franchise history.
Yeah. Eric Harris was telling me that they have the longest streak for no playoff wins in the NFL. Something like 21 seasons or something like that.
Seems about right.
But, hey, you can always bounce. It's the NFL. You can always bounce back.
Yeah, one day, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, at least you weren't the Browns where you thought you were going to be good and then you were terrible. So
That is true.
Oh man! So I feel like we've kind of caught up on what you're doing. What do you do when you're back home? You said you're obviously spending a lot of time on the real estate investment and that sort of thing. What's a day other than that? What's a day in life like back in Ohio?
Oh man, Ohio! There's just so many exciting things going on. I noticed that you guys all fled pretty quickly, which is fine. This is fine. Every now and then I think about doing the same thing myself. It'd be nice just to live and base up in Chicago or Fort Lauderdale or Las Vegas, any place really. No.
So what do? Do you have to go hop to Dayton International and head up to Chicago? Is that how you do it? Okay.
Yep. There's about 10 to 14 flights a day between Dayton and Chicago. It's actually a real easy commute. It's about a 40-minute flight and take a nap and wake up and I'm at work. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad.
But no, the past year has been also pretty crazy. My cousin Sierra and her husband Trey moved in with me about a year and 3 months ago, and they have boys that are a year and 2 months old.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're the apartment that they were in. They kind of lived over near the Green, and there's that one apartment complex right over there that actually the whole thing caught on fire, and then. Oh, wow. And then they were in one of the downstairs apartments, and we had a lot of rain a year and a half ago, and their apartment completely flooded, got black mold in it, and they didn't want to be there anymore, so they moved in with me. They bought a house not too long ago. They've been fixing it up, and so they're getting ready to move out here in the next couple weeks, I think. But at any rate, Ohio's been good. Just time with friends and family, and getting involved at I go to Dayton Avenue Baptist Church now.
Okay.
In Kenya.
Yeah.
And trying to get involved there. Just been going there for the past probably 3 or 4 months now.
Okay. Yeah. We love Ohio, by the way. We did leave.
It is a nice place.
Yeah, I do. Well, I do tell people. They say, what's Ohio like versus South Carolina? And I say, well, in Ohio, if you look out your back door, you have soybeans, and if you look out your front door, you have corn.
Yes.
In South Carolina, if you look out your back door, you have the mountains, and if you look out your front door, you have the beach. So it's
Yeah, that's not too bad. There's that old. There's over 24 astronauts that have come from Ohio. I don't know if you knew that or not.
And the most presidents.
Yes, and it was like, what is it about your state that makes people want to flee the Earth? We have the most astronauts of any state.
That's funny. I didn't know that about astronauts.
Yeah.
I kick myself for not having gone to Neil Armstrong's house while I was there. Doesn't he still live in Ohio, or is it Buzz Aldrin? One of them.
Buzz, yeah, actually both of them, I think.
Still live in Ohio? And I think
They're
people go up and knock on his door and they're like, "Hey, was the moon landing real?
Oh, I'm sure.
Did you guys really do it?" So
yeah. Every now and then you meet people like that, or conspiracy theorists that we never went to the moon. It's like you know that you can actually like either Google moon it, or actually I flew with a guy when I was at Comair, and he was a NASA scientist, and he actually worked on. He was a rocket scientist. He worked on sending people to the moon. So he always had a lot to say about that. And he's like, we still get information and data every single day from the sensors that they left on the first moon mission. They're sitting up there. They're all still operational. Most all of them work. There's nothing up there to really help destroy them. And he's like, in fact, if you take a green laser and you know where to hit it, you can actually reflect it off of on a clear night, you can actually reflect it off some of the solar panels that are still open on some of the stuff they have up there. Which I haven't done that. I don't know if that's true or not. It was very, very assured me that was a true story.
Huh. That would be kind of fun to try out. Well, I'm sure as an airline pilot, you have plenty of information for the flat earthers out there. Like,
Kyrie
Irving.
I wanted to say this over the announcement so bad, especially if we go somewhere like, coast to coast or something like that. A lot of times you'll actually do what's called a great circle route. You'll actually fly north a little bit, and the airplane will arc and then come back down, because as the Earth turns, the further north you go, the shorter the distances.
Oh, wow.
So, it's either a great, we can do a great circle route, or for you flat earthers, we're going to get there via sorcery and black magic. I'm not sure how this is going to work. North, south, east, and west don't really work on a flat surface. You'll eventually go north. You'd be able to do that forever. Same with south, east, and west. But
well, maybe you guys you go over the edge, wrap around underneath, and come back up on the other side.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why we ask you to close the window shades. Hold on. We don't want you to see the edge of the Earth there. NASA's done a really good job at protecting it.
That's so funny. It's crazy, man. It's crazy that we live in such an age that so much science and research is available, but so many people are becoming like anti-science or anti.
Exactly.
There's a big push for weird stuff right now. It's odd.
Yeah, just because people have Google doesn't make them smart.
Yeah. So I know you've been busy. Have you been able to listen to other podcasts that we've done, other episodes?
A couple here and there, but I've been trying to keep up with it as I can. And honestly, what my plan was on some of these longer flights, maybe download them and just let them play in the background a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You should play them for the whole cabin. Be like, hey guys,
let everybody enjoy it.
Here, listen to some people that you don't know talk about stuff you're not interested in.
Fastest growing fantasy football podcast in the nation.
Right. That's funny. So we always do a section on here called dad jokes. So you have a dad, and being a male yourself, that spirit's within
True.
you. What is your best dad joke?
Oh my goodness. Actually, in the spirit of talking about the moon, mine would be, did you hear about the restaurant on the moon?
No.
There's great food, but no atmosphere.
Yes. Perfect. Fantastic. Home run.
Yeah, that would, the spirit of that, we'll go with that one.
Yeah. That's good. Well, good. See, it's good when you can come, like, you can just come up with them on the spot. That's nobody has to go think about it, or they're inside you. The dad jokes are inside you.
They're just there. They're waiting.
Yeah.
They're waiting.
Cool. So there's another section that we do on every show called 3M, and it's music, movies, and media. And media is kind of a catch-all for reading or really anything that you want to talk about. But what would you recommend right now in those three categories: music, movies, media?
So music. I literally have every type of conceivable music on my iPhone. I have Christian to rock to rap to punk to emo to classical to EDM, but honestly, a lot of what I've been listening to recently is different types of EDM. I like that type of music.
Yeah.
It's very upbeat. And
Literally.
Working, yeah, exactly. Exactly. When I'm working on a house or something like that, it's just kind of there in the background, but it kind of keeps you going at the same time. It doesn't really get slow or anything like that, so it always kind of keeps it going. And I'm trying to think of some of the artists I've been listening to here recently.
We used to, I guess it's an outgrowth of techno. I wasn't super interested in EDM until recently. I watched an interview with Steve Aoki.
Yeah, he did a really good remix on Blink 182, one of Blink 182's songs here recently.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of it. But, sorry, go ahead.
I'll find it and put it in the show notes so people can listen to that one. But yeah, and after that interview, I was like, I was learning, listening to how he makes the music and what's behind it and everything. I was like, I should check that out. So I've been trying to listen to a little bit of EDM recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good recommendation.
Yeah. So yeah, if you like the Blink 182 and Steve Aoki's done a lot of work with them here recently, and
Very
he
cool.
did one was called "Why Are We So Broken," and the other one is it'll come to me in a minute. I can hear the song in my head. Movies. I'm trying to think of one that I watched here recently that I really, really liked. Outside of, everybody. Well, John Wick 3. That was a fun movie, just because they're just ridiculous, over the top. So, but that being said, I actually liked Joker. It had some slower parts in it.
Yeah.
Everybody freaked out about the movie and needed trigger warnings and all this sort of stuff. And I guess my thing is, you saw, hopefully I won't spoil anything if anybody hasn't seen it yet. You see about 5 people total die, I think, in the movie. Yeah. 3, he shoots a couple of one he suffocates, one he stabbed. In John Wick 3, there was like that one of the opening scenes when he starts killing people with the knives and the gun. There's more brutal deaths in 30 seconds in John Wick 3 of him chasing people down and brutally murdering them than the entire 2.5 hours of Joker. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Joker was good. I watched an older movie the other day. I'm trying to think of what the name of it was. I had a couple trips here recently where we just seemed to follow this massive storm around the United States. Everywhere we went, it was just downpouring and rain, and there's nothing to go do. I mean, we were in New Orleans, they had 5 inches of rain in about 5 hours or something like that. Ooh. I mean, just flooded. Everything was flooded. The airport was flooded, and so we were just sitting there, not much to go do. So I ended up watching a couple movies, and I'm trying to think of one I saw here. It was kind of an offbeat sci-fi sort of movie, but that typically is my go-to genre, either sci-fi or some sort of dystopian era. Yeah. But everything now just seems to be, dystopian or off-planet. It might not be one of the movies that I watched recently, but one I'm excited that they're bringing back is oh my goodness, I just blanked on it.
It's okay. We have editing. We have editing power. We can. I can cut this part out and make it sound like it was right on the
Here's
top of
Dan
your head.
stumbling around.
Yeah.
Oh, The Expanse. The Expanse.
The Expanse. Oh, cool.
That was
What's that about?
sci-fi show. It was based off of a book series, but no, it's about it's somewhat Game of Thrones-ish in their politics. There's a lot of different factions, and there's this. It's you start giving a bunch of it away, but there's you have these different factions and Earth, Mars, and then there's this alien race that comes into play. And basically, Earth is trying to help trump up a war so they can get a bunch of funding. They're trying to accuse Mars of doing a bunch of things, and then these rogue, basically space pirates, more or less, find this secret spaceship, take it, and then they get involved, and they're on both sides, and they're trying to stop the Earth from destroying Mars, because it turns out that there's this entire alien race out there that is manipulating a lot of this stuff behind the scenes. But it had gotten canceled. It was on Sci-Fi. It had gotten canceled, and then Amazon bought it and picked it up.
Okay.
And so they're about to bring it back.
Available on Amazon Prime.
Yes. Netflix now.
Oh, Netflix now.
I think.
The Expanse. Right.
Hold on. Is it Netflix or is it Amazon? Actually, I think it is Prime. It is Prime.
Let's see. The
Yeah,
Expanse.
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
There it is. I found it.
Ooh, 4 seasons.
Yes, that's the fourth. It had been canceled at the end of the third, and then Amazon saved it and brought it back.
Cool.
So it's pretty good.
That's one thing that I think is cool about these streaming platforms is that's happened quite a few times with series that are really good, and for whatever reason a network cancels it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and all those shows.
Got picked back up. Same thing with Arrested Development, which the first 3 seasons I think were some of the best written TV of all time.
Yes.
4th season. Somewhat bombed. This season was actually pretty good again. So man, what other movie did I watch here recently? Oh, I find I'm not really big into horror movies.
Me neither.
I watched one, and it just turned out it was just super jumpy. It was Woman in Black. It's a little bit older.
Okay.
But me and Trey and Sierra, I finished building kind of a theater room in my basement, so we got the surround sound turned up and on the big screen, and it was just very jumpy.
Yeah.
Very, very jumpy. The other one I watched recently was Zombieland 2.
Okay.
So I don't know if you ever saw the first one. It is just kind of like
No.
It's basically a comedy.
Right.
And first Zombieland is on Netflix right now. The second one just came out in theaters, but it's just ridiculous. Like some of these people that are able to survive in this zombie apocalypse. Has Bill Murray in it for a little while, so if that tells you much anything, he's got a couple cameos in it.
Yeah.
To me, that movie was just hysterical.
That's great. He was just speaking of Bill Murray. He was just in an airport recently and went up to the airport Chick-fil-A and filled out an application and applied for a job.
I saw that. I saw that.
He's so funny.
Lost in Space is another one I really liked.
Okay, yeah, we're getting a plethora of
yes, media recommendations.
Yes,
but basically anything that has to do with spaceships, travel, stuff like that. Those are kind of my go-to for shows and movies. And the one I haven't watched yet that I've been excited to is El Camino.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I did. I won't spoil it for you. So,
okay,
but yeah, watch it.
I got it downloaded and I keep meaning to watch it, but I want to watch it, when I'm out flying or something like that, and kind of pass the time on a bad day.
That's so funny.
We've been getting in at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning every day this week, and God, I don't feel like starting a movie this late.
Yeah.
So when I get back.
That's what happens when you get old, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to.
Changing subjects.
What does it take to become a commercial airline pilot, and what's that process like, and how do you get there?
Okay, so how I started and how most people do is you go to any small airport. Most of them will have something called an FBO, which is a fixed base operator.
Okay.
And those are places where you can take flight lessons. And almost everyone will give you an introductory flight lesson where you just go up, you kind of fly the aircraft around the pattern. Obviously, you're going up with an instructor. And from there, they will, if it's something you like, you continue on, you start taking lessons. It's actually the most heavily regulated transportation industry in the U.S. So from the exams you take to the questions you're even asked to the airplanes that you're allowed to fly, everything is going to be regulated by the government. I'm definitely not a big fan of any sort of government interference regulation, but the U.S. actually has one of the safest aviation records ever. We've been without a deadly crash, except for one woman that kind of got sucked out of a Southwest window for 10, 12 years now. Wow. We haven't had any crashes that resulted in deaths from a commercial airline pilot. But basically, you go and you start flying you take lessons, and in about 40 or 50 flight hours, you can get your private pilot license. Okay. That will allow you to basically just fly an airplane when it's really nice outside. There's no weather, there's no storms, the winds aren't too strong, but you can go flying about anywhere you want with that type of license. From there, the next one you would get would be called an instrument rating, and that is every pilot, I think, should have that rating. Basically, it allows you to fly without looking outside. So, almost all airline pilots, most of the time, even from the time we take off till we about land, we take off, rotate, and we're basically just looking at our instruments, because everything is all the routes you fly you have to be within 0.1 miles of your route. Because there's so many airplanes, so we're taking off out of Atlanta, flying in and out of here all week. It's one of the busiest airports in the world. Yeah. And so, everybody is taking off at the same time. You're only, a couple thousand feet laterally from the aircraft taking off next to you. So you have to be exactly on your course. So your instrument rating is what allows you to do that. So you're flying by ground-based or satellite-based navigation. That one takes a little bit longer to get, so they'll take you up and they'll actually put either a hood over your eyes so you can't see anything but your dashboard and all your instruments, or they'll just cover up the cockpit completely so you can't see outside.
All right.
So you got to learn how to fly by that. You have to learn how to land with that. But that is a very important one to have. John F. Kennedy Jr. had died in an aircraft accident. He only had his instrument rating. Him and his whole family died. And he flew into a cloud bank off the coast of Martha's Vineyard or somewhere in the northeast and lost control of the aircraft. They say that without your instrument rating, if you fly into a solid cloud bank, your life expectancy before you've lost control of the aircraft and will never recover it is about 5 to 10 seconds.
Oh, my word.
So
what causes that? Why would you just don't know what to look at and you get disoriented, or what?
You get very disoriented. Your mind plays a lot of tricks on you, and basically a lot has to do with your inner ear. Okay. So the airplane starts, if you go into a cloud bank and you get bumped, the airplane is now, slowly turning to the left. You have your cochleas inside of your ear, which are your axes that give you the sensation of movement. Yeah. If you start turning a little bit, the fluid in those start moving, and it produces the sensation that you're turning. Well, after, a couple seconds, that will actually stop. So all of a sudden, the airplane is banked to the left. You think you're flying straight. If you ever level the aircraft back out, all of a sudden you feel like you're falling to the right, so you tighten up your turn to the left. So John F. Kennedy Jr. died in what's called a graveyard spiral. The aircraft was almost heading straight down, and it was in a 90-degree bank and swirling straight like this, and he thought he was flying straight level.
I have no idea. Wow.
Because his ears were so messed up, and all of his senses were messed up. So you learn to fly based not on your feelings, but based on what your instruments are saying.
Fascinating.
And even still, every now and then that'll happen. It doesn't happen very often to airline pilots because we're so used to flying in the clouds all the time.
Yeah.
But every now and then you'll look over and you'll see a pilot kind of tilted off to the side a little bit. Even when he's flying, he'll be flying straight and level, but he'll be tilted a little bit. And
because it feels right.
yeah, because it feels right. You ask him, you got the leans going on over there? Yeah, just give me a second. I'll be back here in a minute.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But we're trained just to, you fly by your instruments. You don't fly by what you're feeling. And so that's the next one you get. And then typically after that, most people go to colleges for a lot of this. You can do this through ground-based operations, but most of the time you want to go to a college if you're going to get all this stuff. Because then from there, after you'll need your commercial, which allows you to fly people for money. It's basically doing your private pilot's license again, but all your maneuvers and everything you had to do is now your tolerances for mistakes are halved. So you're hardly allowed off airspeed, altitude, anything like that. You have to just be dead on everything all the time. And you have to do a lot of long cross-country trips where you're flying for, in a small airplane for 200 or 300 miles without landing, being able to navigate point to point, being able to navigate to different airports. And then from there, you would get like a commercial or multi-engine, so you can obviously fly aircraft with more than one engine. Those are always fun to get because it's your first time flying an aircraft that has two engines. Normally, everything you do up until that point is all single engine. But you go up and then you'll do what most airline pilots do is you shut an engine down. You have to fly around on one engine. You have to land on one engine. And as a commercial, especially as a captain, captains have to go in for this type of training every 6 months. So we got to go in and take off on one engine, land on one engine, land with fires, land with all sorts of stuff. So they keep the training very rigorous and on schedule here. And if you don't get that training every 6 months, you can't fly until you do.
Wow.
So the airline schedules it for you, and they all have their big simulators and facilities around the world, actually, sometimes that you'll fly to get that training at. And then typically from there, once you have all those ratings, you have to become a flight instructor. And that's how most pilots build their hours up, is they're flight instructors for other pilots. And then once they get enough time, they'll go to either like a small cargo carrier or to a regional airline. And then from there, they'll go to one of the majors.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a long process. I just flew with a guy, because the airlines need so many pilots right now. I just flew with a guy who went from never flying to being at a airline in about 2 years, which is incredibly fast. Although it was all he did 6 to 7 days a week for 2 years was fly to be able to do that. Typically, to get to that point, it takes 4 to 5 years at least.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a long process, and it seems like you got there pretty young. Like you've been doing this for a while.
I have. Like I said, I went to college for it. Most major airlines will require a 4-year degree. It doesn't have to be in aviation, but it helps.
Yeah.
But most of them will require a 4-year. Most regional pilots don't require that. So a lot of times you'll see people who are a lot older still at regionals. That could be for a bunch of different reasons. One of them could be they never had a 4-year degree, and there's not a lot of majors that will hire without that. And the other could just be they got a really good schedule, good quality of life, and they don't want to go back to starting over at the beginning and going from a captain back to a first officer at a major airline.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but yeah, it's a good career. I like it. I say you can be gone a lot, you can be gone a little. It all depends on what airline you work for. One of the reasons why I do really like Spirit is we have the best quality of life and most days off of any airline.
Oh, wow.
In the U.S. So our contract is built with a minimum of 4 to 5 days off in between every flight pairing. Most airlines, especially regionals, you'll have 2 days off, maybe 1 day off sometimes. So you can get pretty bad schedules. So most people try to get out of those as quick as they can and get to a major airline somewhere. But Spirit and Delta both have really good quality of life contracts.
What is this concern I'm hearing about with radiation when you're up in the sky and passengers? Do you know anything about that? People are talking about when you're flying, you're being exposed to a certain amount of radiation and it's bad for you.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Most of the all airliners are kind of lined with special UV windows.
Okay.
They're supposed to filter a lot of it out. Most passengers don't have to worry about it. It's more actually the pilots up front because we have lots of windows, lots and lots of light comes in. You're obviously out of most of the atmosphere. Over 50% of the atmosphere is below like 18,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
And it decreases rapidly from there up. So if you're up in the high 30s, low 40s, there's not much atmosphere up there to filter out a lot of that radiation. So supposedly they are heavily coated with UV protectant windows and stuff like that. But I've heard pilots have a higher cancer rate than a lot of other people, but then again, the United States has one of the highest cancer rates in the world. So, who knows what that's from.
Yeah.
A lot of pilots don't eat well and aren't necessarily healthy. Airport food for the course of your entire career is not great. I typically pack and cook a lot of healthy food and try to bring it with me, so I'm eating as little airport food as possible.
Cool.
Fortunately, here in Atlanta, they have Chick-fil-A.
Yes. There's a lot of Chick-fil-A.
Dayton, Ohio has a Chick-fil-A. Dayton, Ohio airport has a Chick-fil-A in its airport. So
nice.
It's awesome.
Living the dream.
Yeah, man.
Well, this has been a great podcast. I feel like I could talk about this stuff forever. The only thing that would have made it better is if we were doing the recording while you were 41,000 feet in the air. And
I can. I'll FaceTime you when I get back over to the airplane later on this afternoon.
Yes.
And, give you a tour of the plane.
Oh yeah, let's do it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Have a good
one. All right,
one.
thank you very much.
Yep. Keep the greasy side down.
Always.
All right, bye. Bye, man. Bye.
Oh man, just a really great podcast, guys. I loved that one. And the awesome thing about this one is it's really easy to find copyright-free EDM music. So, got a couple of selections here for you guys. Enjoy. Oh, and next week I will be out of the country, so I have a special episode for you guys next week. A few of us got together and recorded a group session, and that will be releasing at normal time next week while we are gone. So, looking forward to that, and check your podcasts on Tuesday. See ya. Oh, and where are we going, you ask? This hails back to episode 2 or 3. Eric Harris and I are going to Morocco for a week. We're going to get on a couple of camels and ride out into the wilderness and rough it for a few days and then come back. So, providing we have electricity and cell phones, which we will, we may record a few sessions while we're out there and keep you guys up to date on the trip. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to staying in touch with you guys, and we will talk soon. Okay, here's your music. Bye.